Hello everyone, this is Divakar Bihani. I am representing our firm Rajasthan Plywood and Allied Agencies. We are into plywood, laminate and veneer business since 1972. I have joined this firm in the year 2000. Having an experience of 18 years in this field, I further diversified our business to wallpapers, laminate floorings and a good range of highlighters. We also deals in the finest quality of veneers and an unmatched collection of laminates. In terms of, if we say about projects which we have done are Genpact, like we are the trusted supplier of Fortis Hospital also. You have seen the Kana chain of restaurants, Kana and Tansuk, Anand College of Engineering, and there is the largest store of Bengals in India. You will be surprised to note it is in Jaipur on the name of Butterfly Bengals. We are among the trusted supplier of them in terms of plywood, veneer and laminates. The plywood, veneer, they both are manufactured from the woods. Wood or the raw form of wood can be said as a timber. I just show a demonstration. Like consider this, it is a piece of tree log. A log when after sawn or cut, it just comes just using, if you are able to see, it is, I am slightly rotating the things. A machine is known as peeler or slicer. What they do, just we sharpen this pencil from this side. Actually the peelers and slicers sharpen it from the entire surface. The starting skin has been removed off because it is very hard. Then whatever the material, it is converted into small pieces which is used into the cores. For example, these are the core and panel in plywood. One is core, one is panel. So very small pieces, say 4x2 are connected. The basic process of plywood and this, you can say, board are interlinked. Like just consider this, I am taking this pencil in hand, consider this as a tree log. Lakda jisko we call in Hindi. I am just rotating this pencil. Just this way the trees, the logs of the trees after cutting have been rotated on the, you can say, machineries like slicers and peelers. When these have been peeled in small forms, for example say 4x2, 4 feet by 2 feet, then they are continuously pressed. For example, if this is a piece of 8x4, then there will be 4x2, 4x2, 4 panels of 4x2. They will be pasted simultaneously and one entire sheet will be formed. And this way many sheets will comprise of plywood. And now in terms of board, the other part of the log, after that where solid wood is there. So what they do, they slice up to the buttons in a form of buttons which they continuously arrange after one by one, and then the same sheet of 4x2 which is known as core. 4 sheet of core has been pasted like this way, and one face is wrapped up so that entire sheet looks like one piece. So the process of board and ply come out from the single log. In terms of veneer, what happens is there is the wood, these are known as decorative woods. So when they are sliced from the slicer, a very small thin layer of veneer is taken out, and that is then further pressed into a thick sheet of plywood of about 3.5 mm, 6 mm, and then when these are being pressed together, they form a complete unit which is known as veneer. The laminates, you will surprised to note that if you have seen the laminates, you may be thinking that it must be a sort of plastic. It is not a plastic, it is technically pure paper. Many sheets of papers are thinly layered and pressed through phenols and other chemicals, and then what the final product we see is the laminate. In board, basically there are two types of boards are available. One which is generally known as commercial board or MR board, and another one is BWP. In terms of plywood, there are many range like commercial plywood, BWR, boiling water resistant plywood, BWP, boiling water proof plywood. Then another form is fire retardant plywood. Marine ply is also there, which is marine ply, sometimes also known as BWP plywood, which is covered under IS 710. Then there is a shuttering ply which we often use in the shuttering process of the roofs, and there is checkered ply which you may have seen sometimes in the bus bodies. In mica and veneer, there are no types because the veneer itself has many types due to the various range of the woods. For example, if there is an ash wood, the veneer will be known as ash. If there is a, say, maple wood, the veneer will be known as the maple veneer. In terms of laminates, rather than types, it goes through the thicknesses from 0.5 mm, 0.6 mm, 0.7 mm. These are generally known as Becker laminates. Then 0.8 mm, 0.92 mm, 1 mm. These are often used in the surfaces. Again, there is also small market of 1.5 mm. In terms of, if we further describe it in the types, if we go, then we can say that there are different types due to textures. These are there. There are different form of textures also. For example, if we see a mica and a stone texture, it will appear like something, an onyx type. If you have seen an onyx marble, it look like that. If you have seen some other stone, it look like that. A glossy mica is there. So these we can further classify these are the types of laminates. Compact laminate is again a thin sheet of, if we go by process, then it is a thin sheet of plywood. A compact laminate is actually suppressed very on high pressure plates, and both sides it is colored. Like for example, if you choose an ivory color, then both sides it will be ivory and center will be something like a black color will be there. 5 mm goes in the composite laminate. 5 mm, then in exterior grade it is generally gone for the 6 mm, 5.5 or 6 mm, and 12 mm is also used in these our shower cubicles, toilet cubicles, bank strong rooms. These are compact laminates. One form of industrial laminate is also there, which was earlier, which we use in the switch plates. This is 4 mm laminate, and sometimes this type of laminate you would have also seen in the Indian Railways. They also use these industrial sheets. In terms of plywood, we can say plywood is generally used to create the surfaces. These are actually an artificial surface. You may have structured a building, that is a surface which has been developed through the RCC, through the beams. But what further you go into decor is, you can say it is an artificial surface. Like for a table, you have created an artificial surface, so it is made of plywood. For exterior plywood, there is technically no specified plywood for exterior use. Still, a good waterproof ply or a good BWP ply can withhold with the weather for a very longer time. Actually, plywood basically is a wood, so it is showed that it is a natural product, so it will undergo the various weather conditions. A plywood in general is not recommended for exterior use. Still, many times we have to use it. So the life of the plywood or the material what you have created out of this get reduced due to the weather conditions. For example, if you have used a good ply in interior also, it will sustain for say about 15 years, 20 years, even 25 years. While in outside, since in Rajasthan especially, we have very extremes of weather. In winters, night goes up to 2 degrees Celsius, and in the day, the summer is too hot, say about 46, 48 degrees Celsius. So it is very tough for the plywood to sustain in such temperatures. And now veneer and laminate, these both are having decorative purposes. Veneer is basically an interior related product, and laminate will be used in both the forms, interior and exteriors. You can say this can be explained in a very simple theory, like the woods such as ash, maple, another form of maple is sycamore also. These woods are basically European American woods. There the temperature remains somewhere around minus 30 degrees, minus 20 degrees in the forest. While if we go to Africa, for example, or we go to MP teak, which is a very famous wood, or if we go to Burma, Burmese teak or Burmese gurjan, these are the areas where there is already too hot. Say for example, plus 40 degrees, plus 50 degrees. So a wood which has been grown in 50 degrees, 40 degrees, 35 degrees can easily sustain that type of weather. While the wood which has been to say in the minus temperature generally cannot sustain these types of temperatures. If we consider overall the scenario of India, like if we go to say extreme north, say some parts of Uttarakhand in Himachal, there practically every wood will sustain, just because their temperature hardly shoots up above 30 degrees. While if we go say for MP, even in Rajasthan, teak will never fail here. You will hardly find any cracks in the teak wood or a teak veneer. While if we go for say ash or like again maple and sycamore, these type of wood, if you maybe have seen many doors which people build up, they say that they have got a very good quality of wood or a good quality of veneer. The problem is not in the veneer or in the wood. The problem is that the temperature is such, plus 46 degrees an official temperature. So while those woods have never been developed for like that way only, they are grown in minus 30 degrees. So it is very hard for them to sustain those temperatures. In terms of wood, actually it is the cost of the timber which matters. If a timber is costly, then definitely its veneer will be costly. If a wood is on the lower side, slightly cheaper side, the byproduct veneer or even the decorative wood will be lesser. Like in board and plywood, this we will consider here in a combined form. There are mainly the thickness which are in use are 4 mm, 6 mm, 8 or 9 mm, then 12 mm, 15 or 16 mm, 18 mm or 19 mm. Board specifically comes in 19 mm and 25 mm. These are the thickness. In terms of size, universal, you can say in India, there are only 6 sizes available, like 8 by 4, 8 feet by 4 feet, 7 feet by 4 feet, 6 feet by 4 feet, then 8 by 3, 7 by 3 and 6 by 3. Sometimes if in case of any specific demand, 6 by 2.5 or 5 by 2.5 can be pressed. But in the present scenario, this size has been obsolete. In terms of veneer, throughout India, the standard size prevails, which is 8 by 4, 8 feet by 4 feet. Similarly is with the laminates. Mainly this size is only acceptable in India. In export, you may have laminates in very different sizes, but in routine domestic market of our country, the laminate 8 by 4 is available. Like 4 mm we can't use in a support. 4mm will be used either in the back of a laminate, or sometimes people have to renovate their furniture. For example, if they took out an old panel of a wardrobe, then what they do, they just take out the older laminate or older veneer previously which were pasted there, then they press a 4mm ply and then they repaste it with another veneer or another laminate. 6mm comes sometime either in the back of the wardrobe or for a support of the below these drawers. 9mm, 6mm both are mainly used for this purpose. In 12mm we can, since it can carries a good amount of load on it, then it can also be used in beds, like the top ply of our bed on which we sleep is of 12mm, and similarly sometimes if you have to in the shelf of the wardrobes, even 12mm is also used. 19mm board or plywood is used for the structures or where the thing has to be maintained on a durable basis. If we are considering for the same thickness in terms of 19mm, then it will be plywood, because the 19mm plywood का जो procedure होता है, it is just like just show you, it's based on the layer basis, like one layer by another layer, so you have so many glue lines. If there are 13 layers, then it means that you have 11 glue lines. So you have pasted a thing for 11 times. While in board what happens, there are only 5 things: 1 button, 2 core and 2 face. So it is less durable in terms of plywood. Secondly, a board, since it contains solid wood, so it is more prone towards this termite attack and borer attack. While in a normal plywood even can sustain, very easily can sustain this termite attacks, because so many times we have used the glue line. So many, glue is formed so many times, chemicals have been impressed so many times, so it automatically get protected. Like in terms of mica, the thickness starts from say 0.5 mm, 0.6 mm and 0.7 mm. 0.5, 0.6 and 0.7 are mostly oftenly used in as a backer laminates, which we can say inner laminates. Like 0.8 mm is used in both ways, either from the outer surfaces and inner surfaces also. Then there is another format of thickness is 0.92. This is also used either in inner or outer surface. 1 mm you can use in outer surfaces, and the reason why 1 mm looks so elegant and beautiful is because the companies which generally produce 1 mm laminate often uses the papers from Europe, America or Japan. So they themselves have very good quality, of prints you can say, and the ultimate product gives a very good impression on that. There is another market of 1.5 mm and 1.25 mm, but it is a very limited market. These are also used in outer surfaces. Now the 4 mm laminates are known as industrial laminates, which are either used in electric plates, switch plates, or in sometimes in railways also. Then 6 mm laminate market is there, which is known as exterior grade laminate, which is used in like exterior claddings. This we can also use in interior for decorative purposes. And there is another format 12 mm or 15 mm. These are known as compact laminates, which are used in cubicles, toilet cubicles, shower cubicles, bank lockers cubicles, like these types of. Veneer often is mainly the thickness available in India for the veneer sheet. Full sheet is somewhere about 3.5 mm to 4 mm. And it comprises of two things. One, a normal plain plywood of, say for example, if a manufacturer has taken a 3.5 mm plywood, it will press a veneer slide. The veneer, the actual product veneer is the skin of the tree or wood you can say. The decorative wood, when it is sliced from a slicer, say for example it will leave a skin of say 0.5 mm or 0.6 mm. It is further pressed to a normal plain ply of 3.5 mm. So overall it gives us somewhere around, after compression, about 3.7 or 3.8 mm thickness. Flush door in India is generally in 3 thicknesses, for 25 mm, 30 mm and 35 mm. Flush door sizes starts from 6 feet by 2 feet, and at every 3 inch it increases. For example, if it is 6 feet, then it will go 6.3, 6.6. Similarly, it goes up to 8 feet. And similarly, in width, it comes from 2 feet, say 24 inches, then 27 inches, then 30 inches, 33, and it again goes up to 4 feet. Because sometimes what happens in terms of plywood, board and even veneer, a common mistake is that of the formula of contraction and expansion, just like we see in railway tracks. These are made of iron. Sometimes in summers it gets extended, and in winters it gets contracted. Similarly, this also applies in the board, plywood and laminates. So these are all based on natural products, so weather effect will always be there. So whenever there is a close, you can say, joint, I just specify a small gap. Otherwise, many times it happens, you must have seen somewhere that laminates gets cracked, because either it has been pasted on the 90-degree angle, which laminate is not made for, or if there is a joint, but the joint is so near that it hasn't left any gap for expansion and contraction. So when both the surfaces expanded, so there is no margin. So what happened? The laminate gets cracked. In terms of veneer, just we have to see the type of wood which we are using and in what climate we are using. If we are using, for example, if we are using teak or African wood, they can sustain all weathers. And if we are using, say, American woods, European woods such as ash, maple, oak, these woods generally could not withstand with the extreme temperatures of such as Rajasthan, even MP, Gujarat, because these are woods which have been grown in negative temperatures, minus temperatures. So a wood which is grown in minus 30 degree, it is very difficult for this wood to sustain the temperature of plus 40 degree or plus 45 degree. So in exterior, whenever we are using wood, we should take a great care in terms of polishing. Many times what happens when somebody is installing a wood, like for example, you have installed, take this example, if you have installed this piece of wood, what happens is after installation we go for polishing. So what thing has been done is that only this much surface and these surfaces have been polished, while this surface has been left. So here we have protected, here we have protected, say for example we have put a cold green, but we haven't put anything over here. So whenever we are using a wood in exterior purposes, though this is also applicable for interior also, since due to extreme temperature variations, for example presently it is a temperature of say 35 degree, and within 1 hour we can see suddenly rainfall is there, or sometimes like 3-4 days it happened, there was a variation of 8 degrees. So at these times what happens, the moisture enters from here because we left it open, and it will crack that wood. And if a sealer was put here, we could have stopped that crack. We have fully protected the outer surfaces, what we have seen, but we forget to cover this surface. So in many cities it happens that before installation of wood and even veneer, what they do, they put a sealer first, then they go for installation, and then another hand saw and another coatings of polishes and sprays. फ्लोरिंग के लिए टंग एंड ग्रूव इसलिए रिक्वायर्ड है कि रीज़न बिंग दैट कि उसका बैलेंस मेंटेन होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि एक्सपेंशन एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्शन फार्मूला वुड में बहुत ज़्यादा काम करता है. जैसे सडनली मॉइस्चर होता है, वी से अपना डोर जाम हो गया है, विंडोज जाम हो गई हैं, तो इट इज़ एब्जॉर्बिंग मॉइस्चर अलॉट. सो फ्लोरिंग में समटाइम बैंड कैन हैपन. नहीं उसमें पर लाइक इन फ्लोरिंग इफ यू आर यूजिंग टंग एंड ग्रूव, देन वी जस्ट टेक केयर ऑफ दिस थिंग. We have to leave the spaces in the corners, where whatever, for example, if we are using in the room, then all the corners should be left with a gap of say 3 to 4 mm, so that whenever it expands, it get a space on each and every corner of the room. Walls you can apply in whatever way you can, because walls have in walls actually you have a good margin, because what happens if it is you can say if due to moisture it is getting thick, so what will happen, it is coming out of the wall in third dimension, it won't affect anything. But what happens in the floor, when the third dimension rises due to the extra moisture, so it is definitely the uneven surface. Regular gaps, like I told in terms of wood, even in terms of veneer, like necessary gaps should be there. Then you can say we have to see the weather conditions. For example, we are using a wood for interior, say we are using a maple for interior, but what is happening that some sunlight is directly coming from a window. There we have put a maple and we are saying that we have used it in interior, but the sunlight is affecting that veneer, so it will definitely got cracked up. So we have to just avoid such surfaces, or we should go out for a curtain like that, so that direct sunlight can be stopped from going on the surface of that. In terms of again this question and the concept of veneer goes for the same, because since the conditions of the African woods, Indian woods, and you can say Burmese woods are very hard. These are grown in very hard temperature and very harsh conditions, so these woods will remain always strong. For example, pine is very soft, while if you go to the teak, it is a very hard wood. Even if you have seen, which we in Hindi call sal or garjan, it is mainly the garjan, the mostly famous garjan is of Burma, Burmese garjan which we call. And you just take for the example of our Jaipur city, if you have seen those old doors of the old walled city, Jaipur is about somewhere about 285 years is there. So just think that a wood which has sustained for 285 years. For this purpose we should go for non-decorative woods, such as I have told you garjan or sal, even ipe wood. Ipe has both the purposes. It can also be used in this decorative purposes. Otherwise it is very good for sustaining the weather. Teak sometimes may fail in extreme weather conditions. Otherwise teak is also very hard wood. If you can find a 70 plus year of a contractor, he will say that when in earlier times what was used to happen, people used to buy wood in somewhere around February or March month. Then they keep at least 6 months on the roof of any building, just so that it withhold all the weather it go for all the conditions. Now today what is happening, we just go to the vendor, get the wood, get it sawn and just install it. So we didn't go through the procedure of what was necessary for that. It was the grooming of that wood. We didn't go for the grooming. Without grooming, you can say that we have thrown the child into the market for doing something while we haven't given him in the education. This thing can not be avoided. We can't avoid these things because today time is a very big constraint. Nobody has a time to wait for another 6 months. कि भाई लकड़ी मेरी सूखेगी तो मैं काम कराऊंगा. So this will happen. We can't avoid these things. Firstly, if the wood is absorbing the moisture, you consider it is a good wood, because if it is not a natural product, how will it absorb the wood moisture? Secondly, a normal minimum gap, a contractor always leave a normal minimum gap. Still, since it will always happen. So what is the procedure? After 3-4 years, contractor has to be called in. He will just shred up the extra surfaces which has been developed due to moisture, and the same thing you have to repolish the chips and beadings, and then you have to keep the door that way. The main reason for the decay is the saline in water. Sometimes we technically say our product is waterproof. Technically speaking, many woods are waterproof. For example, you put an ipe wood. I have given you an example of that sal wood. That gate is for say about 285 years. It would have been completely decayed, but it has natural properties to sustain such weathers. What happens when water is put on the surface, either due to any reasons, the saline which is in that, we can't stop that decay because we can't stop that saline in the water. So just to avoid these further decay, what we should do, we should regularly check. Say for example, in 2 or 3 years, a contractor or a carpenter should be called in. He will just check all the surfaces. If there is any seepage, because if there is a continuous seepage, it will definitely give a decay to the wood. If we say before the installation of these material to the site, the best thing is that we can say what a general common man or a site owner can do is just go for a treatment. And now if these things develops, then there are two things. Either we have to find the source. For example, if there is a panel installed in the home which itself is carrying a termite, and while we are getting the entire home treated, that won't make any use, because that termite will again develop. It will develop, definitely some breed will develop the resistance power and it will regenerate itself. So what we have to just check the source. What is the source of these things, whether it is fungi or whether it is the insects or any type of insects, borers, or even you can say the termites. Unless and until we do not remove that source, entire treatment is of no use. Chipping, in very simple terms, we can say it is the delamination of surface. Either the glue has been drawn up, or sometimes it happens that glue was not pressed properly and the chip off took place after 5-7 years. Many times it may happen. So it is not, we can't conclude that there is a fault due to this, or we can't catch hold of that contractor or a carpenter. It may happen due to any reason. The varnishes and even the polishes are generally of both the grades. For example, if we are going for interior purposes, like for example, an interior we are using wood, we are using these veneers, then we can go for even a melamine polish in very simple term. But when we are going for external surfaces, for example, there is a main gate door is there, or some wood for cladding, or whatever decorative purposes we have taken to show up our home or terrace like that, then we have to use a PU coat and then some exterior type of varnishes. Board and natural wood, there are basic differences that first of all, in terms of we go for costing, board is quite cheaper than a natural wood. Secondly, the utility has a very big difference. Like a board is very easy to use. Otherwise, if you talk about furniture, earlier there were used to be the wooden furniture only. Before the invention of block boards and even the plywoods, most of the furniture were of wood. Wood is always, it is like this. I just give you a chart also. You have asked a very good question. Like timber is most durable, most sustainable. Then comes plywood. Here you can put board also, plywood and board. Then we go for MDF, and then we go for further particle board. These are you can say the chart for sustainability, durability, even costing also. Timber will be most costly, particle board will be the absolute cheaper option. Veneer is basically a natural product, and while laminate is an artificial product, it is made out of absolute paper. In laminate, there is one advantage that even if you want 1000 sheets, you can have, just since it is being printed, it is just a printed paper, so even you can have 1000 sheets, 2000 sheets. While in veneer, we can't go for like that. Just as we have the batches of say stones. For example, if you have a marble with 30, we say if it is carrying a 25 or 30 slab, similarly it is the veneer. Like what a timber has given us, how many veneer sheets we can develop. For example, 50 ply, 30 ply, 40 ply, then we can only find those 30, 40 or 50 plywoods. For another, we have to go for another group only. Plain board ply is basically formed in layer format. If you are able to see it clearly, then it is just like putting layer sheets this way, this way, this way, and they are compressed together. And every time when these are being pasted, a glue line is being used. So like one glue line, second glue line, third glue line. So it improves the strength, durability, and density. In boards we have wooden battens. Like these are, if you have seen, these are the wood, and these battens are going this way. These have been arranged and sized in that way only, and then they are kept together, and then a core has been compressed on these things. Many times we think that we are killing the plant, you can say killing the environment, we are making harm to the environment. If you go in many countries, the government knowingly gave the permissions to cut the jungles, because they have to replant also. The fertility of the soil also matters. So if the same trees will be there, neither the soil will be that much fertile, neither new breeds will be there. So cutting of the jungle is also equivalent is necessary. Now if what we have to do with that, they have cut the jungles, they have put the trees, what will you do? Where will you keep them? So rather plywood is get consumed this way, either in decorative purposes or in furniture purposes. At least we are consuming those woods. The best example for this farming of wood is you can say poplar, which is a very natural product in our own country, and there is an area known as Yamuna Nagar, which is located on the banks of the Yamuna. You will find lot of poplar trees are there. There you will surprised to note that the farms have been given on lease just to grow these poplar. The poplar wood is used in board and plywood. Even in the matchstick we use that poplar wood. So and regular farming is done, it is a best cash crop for a farmer. It doesn't require any season, it doesn't require any special attention or care. For example, if you have sown 200 trees, at least 160-70 will definitely grow up. So what other best thing can you lead up? Now neither you can say sometimes it happens you have gone for a wheat or a bajra and the rains have failed, or there were excessive rains. At least in terms of trees, this thing does not happen. Poplar on pine, there are, and in terms of, if we can talk mainly about board, then there are two types of wood which is used. One is poplar. Poplar is our homegrown wood only, which is produced in big quantities in India, and in pine it is mostly imported. What happens, like just like we say we have a poplar, they have a pine. So many countries in the foreign countries, for example Switzerland, New Zealand, these have pine in abundance, we have poplar in abundance. The basic difference between poplar and pine is that pine, since it's been imported, various duties and various transportation costs make it costlier. Otherwise, in terms of poplar, pine is a very soft wood. Poplar may not attract termite, pine will definitely attract the termite. In terms of future, actually various MDF plants have been mushroomed up in India, and every time they targeted that this is a future product, and many units have been shut down, because the reason is that the durability and the sustainability of a plywood or a board is far ahead than that of MDF. For example, MDF is no doubt a very good product, particle board are also very good product, but when you go for, if you want to go for a panel of 8x2 for your wardrobe, MDF and particle board both fails there. Because if we go for the higher quality of those the options, you can say, if we go for higher quality options, then again it goes for the same price. So for a same price, definitely a person would definitely go for plywood or board. There is one more thing which is very soon expected. Like today we are going for a laminate in terms of sheets. Now another development is going on that the sheet will become in rolls. So just like the clothing. If you ask a 100 sheet, sir, we will give you a roll, go and cut it as per your size. This is a 100 sheet roll. So the process of this thing is going. I think we will definitely very soon find these things of products. Advantages in terms of plywood, board, laminate and veneer are these things that it is very user friendly. Secondly, even if it happens if somebody has taken a very good quality of plywood, many people has a habit of only going for a good quality plywood, they can reuse that also. Just take off your old laminate or veneer, put a new one, then no harm will be there, because a good quality plywood board can sustain for more than 30-40 years. So why we are throwing it out in another 10-15 years? So this will the basic advantage of the plywood, board and these types of product. The disadvantage is in terms of disadvantage, we can say like veneer is a costly product, or good plywood quality plywood is slightly costlier. The work of the labor is getting costlier day by day, and sometimes it happens in terms of veneer. Generally people does not understand how to maintain it. Like if it requires a polishing at regular interval of time, people forget to get it repolished, then it just gets cracked. like first we take the laminate chapter. Then in laminate, a very normal. Actually, laminate is just nothing but just a piece of paper, you can say. Many papers have been compressed together, which are known as craft paper. Then a design paper is put on that. In between design paper and craft paper, barrier paper is also there, so that the impression doesn't go out. You are not able to see the impression of those craft papers. In local laminates, what they do to put a lower costing side, they avoid using a barrier paper or a tissue paper. उनमें हल्का दाग दिखेगा आपको. Now, we come to the specification. Then SF is actually these are the plates. When these have been compressed, a plate is used. Like for a normal, absolute normal laminate, it will be called as suede finish. A suede finish plate will be there. In terms of matte, where we can say that dana nahi hota, a matte plate is used. For each and everything in laminate, there is a plate. For a gloss, there is a high gloss plate, which creates a high gloss impression on that. Before that finish, for example, a high gloss finish or a texture plate finish, it is the same thing, same paper. Each and everything is same. It is same red color which is produced in SF. Then if you go through matte plate, it will become red matte. If it go through high gloss, then it will be red high gloss. Until red, the each and everything procedure, that raw material procedure is same. The process wood ka another form of process wood is available in the market, which is known as WPC. But since due to the cost obviously, it is not that much accepted. Secondly, it does not have that much grains because it is in simple color, say brown or white. While in wood, the beauty of the wood is that its textures, it finishes. And there are two thinking, like here there are two sides of the coin. One may think it's a wood and it will get moisture rubbed, it will get thick in the rains. But while on the other side of the coin is that if it is a natural product, it will happen.